Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that a live service mania for PlayStation is under, I don't know, it's under market stress. I remember somebody told me in the comment section, you always refer to the market as this supernatural force. I think they were, I don't know, maybe it sounded like they were trying to mock my ideas. Because after that comment, they called me and said, you've now become a Game Pass shill, blah, blah. I just thought to myself, okay, what's going on here? What's the underlying issue? The underlying issue is sometimes when we talk about this stuff, a lot of PlayStation super fans, hyper fans, don't like looking at PlayStation when they're actually saying these things. They want to always focus on everything else. But the reality is, PlayStation's strategy for live service has basically been shaky. I would like, and what's crazy is, I would like for PlayStation to get a live service that hits so that they can put some market pressure, the market like I've been talking about to this audience member of mine, on their competitors, especially Xbox. I don't want a gaming industry where Xbox dominates everything. Like, why would I want that? I want PlayStation and Xbox to continue to fight neck and neck so that I, on the PC side, can just benefit from everything. Remember Matthew Ball's data that showed that PC, was basically winning, and also showing that one of the reasons that this is happening is because PlayStation is now releasing its exclusives on PC. So the competition has created, this environment where I'm just enjoying myself. I have crossplay on my favorite game, Mortal Kombat. Well, the favorite game I play, Mortal Kombat, with everybody everywhere. And that's because the market is now requiring it. MK11 in 2019, they made a crossplay beta, but they stopped short of it. They only made it across the two consoles, but now they looked and said, man, we need money. So they need to get their game to continue to flow. And this will basically push MK1, I think, further down the road than their other games. Things like these initiatives that were cited in this data set are now pushing the market to a place where everybody is now more consumer aware. It leads me to this post by Kami. The list of canceled PlayStation Live Service games from roughly the past year. Now, please note that Kami is actually, citing this in response to Jason Schreier's article that just came out that stated that apparently 2 more live service games had been canceled. One of them was related to God of War. How that would have worked out, I don't know. Now, that article is paywalled, and God forbid Jason Schreier or anything that he's associated with would see a dime from me. I did buy that guy's book, though. I mean, I used to, read his stuff. I bought his first book, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels and stuff, only to find out that he was hiding some critical information. Anyways, different story. Kami said lists of canceled PlayStation Live Service games from roughly the past year. He wrote Concord. No, Kami, Concord was not canceled. Concord was delisted. It was launched and then deleted. So we're not going to call it canceled. Unannounced God of War game canceled. The Last of Us multiplayer canceled. Spider-Man 2 multiplayer canceled. Ben Studio multiplayer canceled. Twisted Metal Fire Sprite canceled. London Studios co-op game studio closed, canceled. Deviation Games multiplayer game canceled. Payback third-person Destiny spinoff from Bungie canceled. What's going on here? I think we can interpret right now that Shuei Yoshida's comments, this man has done the interview of the century. This guy is a great soul. A lot of what he said on the Kind of Funny Games podcast was very interesting. In fact, in one segment, as has been cited by folk out here, he talked about how he moved over to the indie side in terms of PlayStation. And possibly the reason he probably moved over there was so that they could pursue the live service approach. The live service approach is not one that PlayStation is pursuing in a vacuum. It's one that they're pursuing with the awareness that the games that are actually making the most amount of money, the games that are actually taking up consumer time and awareness, the games that are actually making a lot of players basically even now abandon the games that they've played, are these games that are free to play. Another thing too is the generation that's coming ahead are in a position now that they have access to these games via their $1,000 phones. Guys, keep in mind that, we will talk about the console sales all day, right? But a parent will sooner, especially in the Western Americas here, USA, from my experience, and it may be anecdotal, but look around you and look at what the young kids are using for their cell phones. These kids are using $1,000 phones. I'm an instructor to young people. If we compared cell phone brands, I'm the underdog. I use, a 2011 iPhone. I think it was a 2011 model or so. I think, iPhone 11 is what I use. I still use an iPhone 11. The phone still does what I want it to do. I'm not giving that one. I actually got it by exchanging a graphics card. Yeah, a GPU bought me that phone. A GPU I bought for way less. So I'm holding on to this phone because I'm not going to go, buy an expensive Apple phone. Get the heck out of here. But these kids are using 16s every year. Their parents are upgrading them to the latest phones that cost way more than a console can cost. The console manufacturers and the game developers and the publishers, they know that. And so they are looking and saying, yo, we got to go there. And many of them pioneered this industry and took advantage of it even before these phones got powerful, like Roblox and all these other titles. So now that the phones are more powerful, they're already established, and it's hard for a lot of these other games to basically break in at this point in time. Even some established titles are still facing challenges. And so with the industry right now being at this choke point, I think PlayStation looking for a way to break into the live service game is going to see some, market resistance and some hurdles. Does this mean they're going to give up? I don't think so. Because going back to the single player games is more expensive and also just as risky. And also takes longer. With the live service games, I think it seems to me there's a quick, proof of concept and, quick failure that they can actually experience. I don't know, except maybe in Concord, right? There's kind of a quick failure loop, maybe 4 years that they can leverage and possibly realize what might stick or what might not stick or what their studios may be capable of or what their studios may not be capable of or how they need to go about doing it. I think the way that it's been done, that I've seen some success from, is the way Ubisoft does theirs and the way that Activision does theirs. But that's very expensive. Like PlayStation's got to find a way to fess up that money. I don't know where they're going to get it. Because when we look at Matthew Ball's data sets, it's showing that venture capitalists are basically kind of, trying to be more conservative in their investments and such. So, again, we don't really know how that actually all goes down. So the industry has really shifted to the point now where PlayStation is stuck between, I think, a rock and a hard place. It really has to make a very significant pivot, such pivot that if it doesn't make that pivot, I don't know exactly what it is that they are going to do to even come back in this particular area and make some sense of what's going on. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. EA is eating everybody's lunch. EA is sitting there going and, making all this money. And many people have cited, and this also brings into question the whole, conversation about 30%. Is 30% that much? Is it that much? Is it enough for a company like PlayStation that wants to grow? It's a lot for us, any individual or whatever, but for a company like PlayStation that's looking for growth, finding ways to basically increase its, profit margins, its gross margins and all that stuff that they were looking at, is 30% enough for them? It doesn't seem like it. If 30% was enough, look at all these games that they were planning to launch. If 30% was actually adequate, why were they trying to, launch these many live service games? Because 70% is much more. They have to actually write that 70% check. You know that, right? Because when you buy the game, it will go to PlayStation and then they got to go ahead and then divvy it up because the money goes directly to them. Probably maybe it's through an automated process that it goes to the publisher but they got to write that check. And I'm sure having written that check for so many years for Call of Duty, for Fortnite, for 2K, for FIFA, for NFL, they decided, my goodness, we have got to get ourselves a bite out of this. And so they're trying. This is what they think they should try. But here's where I see the problem. They've wasted a lot of time and resources. Now it's too late because they put all their eggs in the console basket. And so instead of actually diversifying, they bet really heavy on this one parameter. And in their investments, they decided that they were going to go ahead and money hack games and spend money on third-party titles to come to their platform so that they could grow their console, thinking that that was a viable, prospect for them to go with. When in reality, what they could have done and what they could have leveraged was simply investing in their studios, ensuring that their studios could all do very well and establish titles, create fans, create anthologies, and all of that stuff. So they could look like just even a simple studio within Sega. But no, they decided that, it was more important to go that route. Now, again, maybe it was working out for them, and so they decided to go with it, but I don't think many anticipated a future that would stagnate in terms of gaming growth. And this particular stagnation is now in a very strange place where costs and expenses are all high. And I think it's going to really prove every single company. And don't get me wrong, Xbox is not like, in a safe or in a clear. But Xbox bought its way into a much, I would say slightly much more secure position for at least a shorter period, just to see how things go through till the next generation. And now they've bought themselves, not only that, they bought themselves time, where they can now basically, wiggle their way into other aspects to find more customers in a shrinking in a shrinking gaming industry. A very interesting turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here for it. Talk to me in the comment section. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Peace out.